Welcome back to the Shifting Schools podcast. My name is Trisha Friedman, and this week I'm flying the ship solo as Jeff is out and about traveling and developing, as well as delivering some incredible workshops on AI literacy. If you are a subscriber to our free Shifting Schools weekly newsletter, you are going to get some insights from conversations that Jeff and I are having with educators from all around the world, as well as we do our best to always be providing you with free resources to further sustain the conversation around AI literacy. Again, you can sign up at shiftingschools.com. This episode is a continuation of our summer-long Power of Play series, and we've got a remarkable guest. Those of you who are interested in the intersection of technology and play, you're in for a real treat. I'm speaking with Jeannine Charles, who's an experienced designer and an immersive XR content producer. She does amazing work with augmented reality, that's AR, as well as virtual reality, and so much more. She's here to help us think about what the future of play might be, what it might mean for those of our students who are interested in AR, XR, and VR, to think about bringing that into this summer-long conversation and seeing those as tools for playfulness, tools for human connection. Before we welcome Jeannine to the show, we've got a quick word from our show sponsors.
Discover the power of acknowledgement with Libra. In a world where every staff member's dedication shapes the future, recognizing their efforts becomes our mission. Libra transforms your school into a place where achievements, big and small, are celebrated daily, creating a ripple effect of motivation and pride. Join the recognition revolution with Libra, where every achievement is a cause for celebration. For more information and a free demo, contact me at jeff@shiftingschools.com today.
Librarians, meet MacEnvision, the future of library management. With a student-centered design, MacEnvision's intuitive interface and seamless navigation ensures that your students find the information they need quickly and effortlessly. Discover how MacEnvision can transform your school at macen.com/MacEnvision.
And with that, welcome to the Shifting Schools podcast, Jeannine Charles. Jeannine, I'm so excited to be speaking with you today. There's so many different questions I could ask you because it seems like the work that you're doing specifically around play is so multifaceted. But I'm wondering if we can start with a presentation that you have for the incredible, huge event known as Serious Play. I feel like that's a conference that I have a lot of envy and jealousy that I'm not going to be at. And your presentation is entitled, quote, "Why Representation Matters Even in Adult Play." For those of us like me who have that jealousy and envy of not being able to see it live, can you say a little bit more about your plans for that presentation and what those lucky participants will get to experience?
Definitely. First of all, thank you for having me. This is a treat. I love it. And play is so multifaceted. I've been playing since I've been small, and I have like a youthful spirit. So I like to play, and I thought everybody likes to play, but I realize adults are serious, and a lot of them don't necessarily play, or even they might play through watching somebody watch sports. And I never got that. Why do people watch sports? And you could go out and play. That's always been my thing. So I realized that playing as an adult is a thing. Is why I named it adult play, which my poor mother was like, "What do you mean adult play? Do you mean?" I was like, "No, not that type of play. Just general rollicking. Whee!" As a full-grown, after the age of 25-year-old adult. And do we do enough of it? And yes, we all know that there's benefits for stress relief and all these things. But To play as an adult, there are actually psychological needs that the act of play fills. And that's what I want to talk about, how we fill those psychological needs, especially in people that are underrepresented or minorities. And I was coming from the Black experience, since I am a Black woman in Canada. But I realized, especially trying to get ready for this presentation, that minority is for everyone. So it is for like sexual orientation, the whole movement of I don't know if I'm going to say this properly, LGBTQ and more, plus all the different races. So not just Black, but Latino or Latinx, and then Asian and everything. And then also age. And as you grow older, are we representing older people? My mom is very active, but do you see, unless it's like a commercial for Depends, are you going to see older people doing fun stuff or even living their best lives? We need more of that. We need people that are handicapped, and we need to. So as adults, how do we show this, and why does it matter? It matters because basically the premise of my talk is he who holds the power designs the future. And if the power is being held by the majority of a certain color or race or gender, then the people who are not of that color, race, or gender or lifestyle don't have a voice, and they don't get to see themselves in the future or in that time and space. To illustrate that point, I came across, I don't know if you saw this show, it was way back in the day called, no, you know what? It's not In Living Color. Now I'm going to forget the woman's show, but Erica Alexander was an actor from like in the 90s, and she had a hit sitcom, and it was really good. And she's an actress. She's an actress. And she actually wrote a sci-fi book, and she wanted to pitch it transmedia style to some of the big production companies in Hollywood. And they passed on her. And one of the people she was pitching for, he said, no, Black people are not going to be interested in this because Black people don't like sci-fi and don't see themselves in the future. She has since produced her book and made it into the multiple different types of media and content and things without their help. But that is basically, we are letting people dictate what we watch because they think that we don't see ourselves in the future. And that to me means that, how do you know we don't see ourselves in the future? What if we just didn't have access to the proper sci-fi to like it enough to see if we even liked it? What if there's different types of sci-fi that if I don't like this type, maybe I like this type? Maybe all your sci-fi was white in the first place and I couldn't see myself in your present sci-fi. So why would I like it and purchase it if I'm not even in it? And it's like a cat chasing its tail. And all of this to me is very much, the more I delve into play, representation, adults, it's like an Ouroboros. It just keeps going in a circle.
Yeah.
Why play is important is because it fulfills 3 psychological needs. And that is the first need is of individuality. So people want to feel like they have determinism in choice and what they can do and things like that. The second one is competence. People play to become competent at something or to master something. So if you're not successful at work or you feel like small and invisible at work, go and play something where you can be the best at it. That's another reason why we play. But the third most important one, which was the game changer for me, was the theory of relatedness. We all want to feel like we matter. Everybody. That's a psychological need. And you want to feel like you are a part of society and you're giving something to society. That's why we get up and work. That's why we get up and we do things and we connect with society. But if you're a minority and they take your voice away and they say, you don't see you in the future, so we don't see you in the future, how do we get to contribute to the future if we've already been erased?
Yeah. And it's that access piece, remembering that it's not just, oh, this league or this event exists in your neighborhood, but it's like, how is it being communicated? As you said, who's a part of designing it? And I'm thinking about, there's a nonprofit called Harper's Playground where they were noticing just how many playgrounds are not designed for children that might have other kinds of physical needs, that they weren't wheelchair accessible, and that even something like having mulch be the substance of the playground, it's really difficult for a wheelchair to get through that. And as you say, it's if the so-called seats at the table are not including those different perspectives, we really feel that. And I think what you're saying about play fulfilling those needs, especially right now when folks are talking about the loneliness epidemic, when we're in what futurist Amy Webb calls a super cycle of change, and we know that change is stressful. I feel like this is a time that we want to be really like leaning into play more often, where we want to be feeling that sense of community. Something that I say to my wife all the time that I feel so strongly was foundational for me was that I was able to be a part of many different teams, athletic teams, and how that I had people that supported me. I experienced what it was like to go through successes and failures in a team dynamic. And a lot of what you were saying too was reminding me about how the WNBA, women's college basketball, we're seeing this explosion in growth and interest. And yet not so long ago, plenty of folks were saying, nobody will watch that. Nobody will watch that. So it's—
And if nobody watches it and somebody, probably a man, has determined that nobody will watch women playing basketball, what did that mean from now all the way backwards for little girls playing basketball? They didn't play basketball because, number one, nobody watches it. And even their own parents will echo the whole, oh, nobody's watching it. There's no money in that. Go to school, do something that women do. Stuff like that. That's a whole gender roles and norms that we get stuck into, doing things that you might— what if you just like playing basketball and you're really talented at it? Now you don't get to do what maybe your purpose is because women don't play basketball. And that's not true.
Thank you for tuning in to Shifting Schools. Let's pause our discussion to spotlight Libra HQ, a breakthrough in using AI to deepen connections within organizations. Imagine an environment where every staff member feels truly seen and valued. This is the heart of Libra's mission. Libra transforms how leaders celebrate and recognize the personal and professional milestones of their team members. It's not just about reminders. Libra's AI dives deeper, offering insight into enhanced team cohesion and promote a culture where support and acknowledgement are paramount. Picture a school where every individual is acknowledged, from work achievements to personal victories, creating a culture of appreciation in just minutes a day. In these challenging times, where the demands on educators have never been higher, Libra offers a way for school leaders to lead with true empathy and compassion, ensuring every team member feels an integral part of their community's success. Discover how Libra can revolutionize your school's culture. For a demo, contact me at jeff@shiftingschools.com. Let's build a future where every educator and staff member feels connected and valued. And now, let's get back to our conversation.
You have me thinking it would be such a great classroom media literacy activity to even look at different like toy manufacturers, different brands that are associated with play and see who are they depicting gets that access to play. When we're thinking about that game, who are we imagining? And does it represent the beautiful spectrum of humanity? That sounds like a great session that's going to be at Serious Play. Again, I'm super envious of folks that get to be in it. Jeannine, you're doing work in VR, AR, XR marketing, which is, my goodness. And I see that wasn't where you started your career. So I'm super interested. Our audience of educators are always helping students think a little bit about how do you get into a different career? Like, how do you pivot? What are the skills that you need? And I'd love to start by asking you to talk a little bit about how playfulness or like a playful mindset has helped you maybe move in your career and do all of the learning that you must have had to do in order to be working with all of those letters in marketing.
Definitely. I started out in industrial design at Carleton University, and I have 2 degrees in industrial design and sociology. And then I got burnt out. And so I literally in my life played with every type of career I could. I was an actor. I was a bodybuilder. I was a flight attendant. I did all of it, and I did it to the best of my ability as much as I could. And literally, it is the sense of play, because literally, even for this podcast, I said, let me look at the definition of what play is. So play is the process of observing, testing, trying, imitating, and enjoying environments that you are in with the people that you're with. I decided to taste all of life and test, enjoy, and basically listening to Andrew Huberman. I don't know if you know him, or if people who don't know him, he is a ophthalmologist and I think neurologist from Stanford University. And he says that play is where you are able to test on different roles in your life with low stakes, very low stakes. And so you're able to try on different roles and different scenarios. And you may or may not, it doesn't necessarily have to be fun, but you get to do it and you get to see if you like it and discard this one and try this one on. And that's what I've done. And I've tried anything that could have maybe been a hobby. Let's see if I can do this and let's see if I can do that. So when an accelerator for virtual reality fell into my lap, I was like, I'm going to try it. I don't know anything about it. Let me try it. I played. Oh, Andrew Huberman, he brings up the tinkerer's mind. That's what I wanted to say. The tinkerer's mind is literally where you always touch and tinker and touch and reform and redo. And it's having the curious learning mind all the time. And I think that's also what I've had. I'm always curious about things and I'm always wanting to learn more about something and to go in depth of that learning. I do like to try and master things, but even if I don't, I'm always going to try it and I might leave it alone, come back to it, leave it alone, come back to it, things like that. And just always being curious around it. And that I think is what helped me make the jump into this. And I didn't know this was going to become this being AR, VR, XR. And I now realize this is the vehicle to the future. And I want to bring other people with me. Because of that, I want to become as good as I can at doing this, being well versed in it, and being able to speak about it so that other people can understand and come along as well.
Love so much about what you just said. And I'm wondering, doing work in AR, VR, XR, and having a background in sociology, I think now more so than ever before, we're seeing like technology is not separate from society, from community. Like something I'm super interested in the moment about is social robots and where we're going to see this technology go very quickly. Was that sociology degree? Is it, something that you feel like is influencing your work now, even though it
not even a was, is. It is. Because as strong as I am an advocate of play, I'm an advocate of togetherness. As in, I'm still very much, I am in VR, but I'm like, VR in the future means you're putting on a headset and you're separating yourself. And I do not like this loneliness pandemic. They said that loneliness kills more than cigarettes. And so how am I going to be an advocate for making people put goggles on and separating themselves and living like troglodytes in their basement? No. So that's why I love, even more than VR, I love XR and MR, because you're still at least in the world being able to communicate and touch with other people, which is why I still bring play into it. So to me, play and connectedness go hand in hand. Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's a reminder of all of these tools are neither all good nor all bad, because you have me thinking too about VR therapy. AR therapy is a thing that exists now. And so is this going to help many places in North America? It's really difficult to either have access to mental health specialists or to be able to afford it. Some of these things are incredibly expensive. And so I also think about, is there potential for this technology to change that in the very near present as well? For a teacher who's working with a student who is thinking, I also would love to work with emerging technologies, can you talk a little bit about what that means? Because again, even to say I want to work in AR today, it's going to be so different 2 or 3 years ago, I think. Jeannine, like how do you, and I'm wondering if, again, your playful attitude also helps you work and, for lack of a better phrase, keep up when the technology is like always and forever changing?
The technology is moving so quickly. How I bring play into that is I look at what's new and what's out there and what's coming. Some of the things I don't understand, as in like spatial computing is huge to understand the concept of spatial computing, but I keep chipping away at it. And as I chip away at it, I bring whatever concepts I can into what I'm designing. To me, the act of creation is a form of my own play, because that's where I get to tinker and try and tinker and bring this. And my actual act of playing is bringing what's in my head out of my head and into real life. That's what I've always tried. I want to see what's in my head and I want it out in real life. I used to draw and try to get the pictures out of my head. And that's how I got into industrial design. I can draw well, but I'm not the artist. But I've always been a creator, and I've been a painter, and I've been everything in the act of creation. But here with AR, I really can actually manipulate and create 3D things that I see in my head, bring it out, and then have people see it and interact with it. And that's the most fun. So the whole like tinkering and making something and then having somebody else be able to play with it or even move it around or talk about it and say, hey, why don't you do this? Or I like to interact, immersing all of us. And then even using that as a cycle and then playing with that and then playing with that. So that's how I like bring play into the aspect of trying to keep up with technology. So it's like a funnel. I'm bringing both like the things I learn into it and the playfulness of learning and tinkering and trying to cook. I feel like it's like folding a pancake. Like you're trying to fold chocolate chips into a really good pancake. That's what I'm doing.
Now I'm hungry for pancakes as well. Can you maybe take us behind the curtain a little bit when you talk about doing that learning? One of the conversations that I've had with former students that has reminded me they don't always understand like what adulthood learning is like. And I had this student one time, we were talking about Taylor Swift and some of the different influences in her work. And I was talking about the Cruel Summer song and how that was actually written by St. Vincent, and looking at some of St. Vincent's music and how that's not necessarily, you wouldn't think of the two of them as partnering. And the student was like, no offense, miss, but you're like 3 times as old as I am. Like, how did you know that? I didn't know that's who wrote that Taylor Swift song. And so we just had a little bit of a conversation, and this is a podcast. I obviously love podcasts, but I talked about as well, like there's a few YouTube channels that I love, and I always try to like differentiate, what am I listening to? Sometimes it's like great pop culture review shows that are useful to me in ways that might not make sense. And so the student was, you listen to that stuff, it might not specifically be connected, but you're open to it. I'm like, yes. So
that's play. That's what it is. That's what it is. So I read all of these like self-development books and mastery and this and that. And there's this one book, I think it's either The Talent Code or Be So Good That They Can't Ignore You, one of those books. And they talk about literally like how being talented is not something that you're born with. Because I always thought, I guess also since I've been small, I've been looking for my purpose. I don't know what my purpose is. I still don't know what my purpose is. I keep looking for it. So as I'm looking for this purpose and I'm on a journey to looking for what I'm supposed to be doing in life, which is why I've tasted and tested everything, literally, they say that when you have a talent, you may have a great body structure to play soccer or this, but if you don't keep practicing it, use it or lose it. And also some of the people that are the most talented are the people that have taken from the ether. If you have an idea, you might say, I know how to milk a cow. I'm the best farmer there is. I can milk a cow. But how do you revolutionize milking that cow? You start watching sci-fi shows and you're like, hey, they've got motorized cow hoofs in the future. Let me see that and bring a motorized cow hoof to this. And that's how you now create something different. And I wish I could remember the term. It's something adjacent, potential adjacent, I think it's called. So it's like when you're taking things that are not in the realm that you're supposed to be focusing on, and you take elements from the adjacent, anything else, and you bring it in. Again, folding chocolate chips into a pancake.
Yeah, fusion cooking. Fusion cooking is exactly
fusion
that.
Cooking, exactly. Call it fusion cooking. And so that's exactly it. So when you said, how do you know that? Yes, I do the same thing. I watch pop culture. I watch literally like Real Housewives just to have a laugh, but you never know if an idea will pop off and you'll be able to bring it into the work that you're supposed to be doing or what you want to do. You never know where these ideas come. But if you keep yourself in a silo, you are going to, one day you're going to run out of ideas in that silo. Then what? You're going to be stuck.
Yeah.
So the reason to never be stuck is to keep getting ideas from everywhere and also keeping current and moving forwards. Look to what the future is saying. What are the visions of the future? The past has already been done. And yes, we can always, I feel like school is to learn about the past. And when I was in drawing and they made us learn about all the great masters and copy the masters, but did they necessarily have us look, especially in elementary school, to the future? Like, how would a robot draw? Does a robot sing while he draws? Is a robot a he or her or this or that? Does a robot draw with their toes? And then going through that, and can I make a game of robots drawing futuristic pictures? That's where my mind goes.
Yeah. And I think it's also that piece, like Dr. Ruha Benjamin writes about this much more eloquently than I'm about to speak it, but that we have to be thinking about the future we want to create. Like, we have to be making space for what is it that we're looking for. And I love that you've talked a lot about your work and play in general being about a community experience. And you just recently did exactly that. And I was so excited that I got a little sneak peek at this. So you've been working on this augmented reality experience for Toronto's Caribbean Parade. I got to bring that into my home office, and it was like instant joy. Honestly, I went from sipping my tea, kind of like, to you sent me the music to go along with it. And physiologically, I had a response, right? Can you talk?
That's what I want to hear.
Yes,
that's what I want to hear.
And I can't even imagine then how much more powerful in the parade itself people would have felt.
See the photos after where you actually saw. So basically, to tell everybody, there was 2 experiences, but the other one was more complicated. So I was like, so I sent you the one that not only made me the most happiest, but the one where I actually could take pictures. And so I designed an experience, an augmented reality experience of a robot that's doing a dance. And all around you, there are augmented reality bubbles and feathers and everything and confetti blowing around, so that when you lift up your camera and you were on the parade route and you were either a spectator or a dancer, you'd be able to be filled with the joy around you, but you'd also be able to connect with people, because I don't know if you know this, but if you raise it up and if you had a friend in front of you, you can take a picture of them dancing with Soka Robot. So it's also immersive as well. And especially like the next iterations of this is I am going to add the music inside the augmented reality, because now I didn't put music in it because there was so much music happening outside. And so what I did was, with that experience, I took it on the road for Caravana, and then I took Soka Robot in all these different environments, dancing with different women or dancing with the feathers and dancing in the costumes and different things like that. And so I just thought it was so much fun, and I hope other people enjoyed it as much as I did. So I just wanted to give like a really cool immersive experience through AR. So using technology and play, because I don't know if you realize that is the whole concept of Carnival. And it's literally being able to play, because back like 200-300 years ago during slavery, many cultures were subjugated and were not able to play. And they might have had one day of play. And that play, again, was to imitate and try on the role of power, or the role of, like we say, freeing up yourself. Being able to free up yourself was a luxury, because every other day you had to work. And so basically Caravana was a day to let go, be free, have fun. And I wanted Soka Robot to be able to do that and allow people to have fun as well.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for, again, letting me try it in my home. It makes me think about folks who, for a variety of reasons, can't be in the parade space too, like how you can bring that in. But also, I feel like it's so imaginative that an experience like that begets more imagination.
Mackin Educational Resources has once again partnered with us for our summer mini-series. Thank you to Mackin for continuing to be a partner of the Shifting Schools community. Their new product, Mackin Vision, is the future of library management. Created with your students' need at the forefront, Mackin Vision offers a user-friendly interface that simplifies navigation, making it easy for students to find what they need. This state-of-the-art system includes features like intuitive browsing, secure multi-level access, multimedia searching, and whole school rostering. Additionally, it has a teacher library portal, aggregated dashboard, live analytics, and centralized reporting. Mac Envision is designed to streamline your school's library operations. Learn more about how Mac Envision can benefit your school at macin.com/MacinVision. Schedule your free demonstration and experience the future today.
I'm just curious if you have any thoughts. What other future in-person events do you think people are going to be incorporating more AR and VR into? Because Jeannine, when you mentioned that you used to be a flight attendant, I'm thinking, hey, that actually might be really useful. Like, I am not the world's most comfortable passenger. So I'm thinking, even if there was some sort of like AR experience where it was somebody being like, hey, this is actually like a reminder, turbulence is not a big deal. Here's why, like, calm, do a breathing exercise with me. That could be really cool. Like, where else do you think it might turn up?
I actually made an AR breathing experience, exactly like a calming type thing. And I have ideas. I have all the ideas for everything. And especially like easing the registration process. Like, imagine being able to like press boop, boop, getting through, and you don't even have to talk to people if you don't want to. If you want to talk to the person, you can, but if you don't want to stand in line, but then when you get into the plane, maybe we could let the flight attendants do flight attendant stuff while boop, you can get the AR version of the flight attendant speaking right there, right next to you, making a hologram, and her showing you literally how to do the exits, or even in the case of an emergency.
Yeah.
There's an AR that you can scan really quickly and boop, it will show you how, if there's no emergencies, never, we're not even asking for that. But if there were, an AR could help with that as well. But even in-flight entertainment, or even like drawing for kids, like they're on the plane. And I remember one time this kid was kicking me in the back of the seat, literally the whole time. But maybe if they had something to scan and draw and color, I can do that. Yes, there's an in-flight movie, but what if that in-flight movie was literally interactive, as in there was a little scan and you could like either do questions, or like I have an idea for the Real Housewives. If there's a little QR code while you're watching it and whatever they're wearing and you like it, you can scan the QR code and the AR comes up of the little outfits, and it can go directly to the store that you got that at, or maybe you could try it on, things like that, making it more interactive, making your time not seem like 8 hours on a trip to Hong Kong, things like that.
That would definitely make my flight experience more enjoyable. But also, as you were saying, so often when the safety announcements and all of those things are being explained, so many folks are often not paying attention versus something that is definitely going to capture your attention. I'm wondering, Jeannine, do you have a brain trust, or when you are doing this future thinking, creating the future of AR, VR, XR that you're interested in, what's that community like? Again, I'm just thinking for teachers who want to be walking students through, you're into this, you're thinking about it. Here is also how maybe it's collaborative, because I feel like my covert agenda whenever I'm speaking with folks who have really interesting careers is we need to remind people those collaboration skills, even if you own your own business, you work by yourself, you still, again, it's those soft, quote, soft skills that at least I think are always going to be valuable. So I'm hoping you have some thoughts, or again, just push back if you're like, no, Trisha, it's not important.
No. That's what's going to differentiate us from the robots. If they think the robots are taking over, we still have the soft skills, unless some person out there is training robots to have soft skills, and that's going to be our downfall. But we have the soft skills, and it's us needing humans and the cooperation. I think robots think they can do it themselves. Robots and AI, they're singular. They don't care about each other. We care about each other. So yes, in the future, and entrepreneurship and a lot of these futuristic, and even being a visionary can get lonely because you're thinking and seeing things that other people can't see, and you might not even be able to express it properly for people to understand it, or you may look crazy. I know to people out there, I look like, until the mainstream gets it, sometimes if you're an early adopter, you have to risk looking slightly crazy or weird, because you can see things and envision things that other people don't get until you bring it into reality physically. And even then, people might not get it. But all of that is literally having a community, like you said, of other people who think in that way as well, and who can dream bigger futures and sandcastles in the sky, and just connecting the more you infect your enthusiasm and your vision to somebody else, and then they do it to somebody else, and then you start making little communities all over the place. And also what I've done is I'm literally on LinkedIn or all these websites looking for other people who do AR. You do AR too? So anybody in the world, you do it too? Me too. Me too. That's how I try. I would say for teachers and educators, if you're interested in AR, bring it into your school. Start learning about it or teaching it, or bring somebody in who can facilitate it, and then connect with other schools who are also doing it and find out like, hey, how do you guys put AR in your school? Oh, principal, what have you thought of when you brought in this educator? And do you know anybody from over there in Seattle that would be a good fit for make networks? And the bigger networks you can make, and then maybe principals of schools connect, and then maybe, who knows?
And I think also just that interdisciplinary thinking, you have me thinking about what the future of HR and human resources might be, because anybody who's had to go through like an HR video where it's like, that's also something where I could see technology really changing that experience. So I think it's like any subject area where folks are passionate, I can't help but imagine that there's going to be an intersection with AR, VR at some point if it doesn't already exist. Like so much potential for the sciences. This is a very simple example, but I am like I've become a huge gardener this summer, like really into gardening. And I had that experience, Jeannine, I don't know if you've had it, where I'm like, is that a week or I'm not sure. And there's a bunch of apps that identify that. I have been comparing them to like test, what does ChatGPT know? Like how accurately can it also identify? And I'm thinking like probably very soon I'll be able to have an AR gardener buddy who might be able to like tour around and give me some advice.
I'm already planning it. On the side, I do wedding coordination, and I do it at a very big garden event space. And they have open tours like once a month for the general public to come and tour their extensive lands. They have acres and acres. And the way the woman has landscaped and gardened everything, it's beautiful. But she has, no word of a lie, millions of different, like at least in the hundreds of thousands of different kinds of flowers, varieties, bushes, everything. So I'd be helping people tour through, and they're asking me, what's that? I'm like, I don't know. So I got tired of that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm developing. And I actually did a little bit last night because another person who's a potential client, they have a farm type thing where they want to also have people walk through their lands and see the different kind of rows of produce that they grow. And I built a little kind of model last night of an actual like room scale where you can walk through the different levels, the different paths and rows, and you can actually look and see the different varieties of the different produce they're growing. So similar like that, you can like literally be surrounded by the flowers of the garden. And then like I can have it where the names of the different varieties come out of it, or you can press on it and learn more. So all of that is not just for teaching, it's for gardening. Like it can go anywhere and everywhere. And I think right now that it's cumbersome because you have to have a phone right now. But even yesterday, I just read that Meta is now in the race. Meta has combined with Ray-Ban to have Meta glasses, but they're not real AR glasses. And there are companies out there who are doing like real AR glasses, but Meta now wants to do real AR glasses. And when Meta does it, other companies will do it as well. So soon we'll literally be having like glasses where you just there and you can scan things and it will come up in your field of view and you can like press Iron Man, boop, heads up display, and you press that and oh, what's that plant? Okay, that's a daffodil and that's echinacea. And and you want to hear somebody telling you how echinacea was used 50 years ago. Okay, stuff like that.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad that came out of this conversation because I just finished reading a book called The Light Eaters, which is all about plant intelligence. And so I could see lots of that being incorporated. I guess my final question for you is then, when you are looking ahead to the future, do you see it as a space that's going to be more playful? Do you think that this technology, as you started at the beginning, to bring it full circle, I think there are some adults who don't have access to play for a variety of reasons. And then there's also a lot of adults who I think have been misinformed that we don't need play anymore, or that it's like somehow beneath us to be playful, when as you said, there's so much research. We need it. It's good for us. It will help us. Do you think technology is going to push society to get more playful in the future?
I don't know if it's going to push society to get more playful, but it's inherent. Without play, there's no creativity. And without creativity, there's no play. So you can't move into the future and design new things without both play and creativity. And the way to be creative is to play and tinker and design and think of more. And you can't have more if you don't create and do more. And when you speak of people who don't have the capacity to play, that's basically, especially with my talk, that's the whole crux of it, that we need to open up the access for everybody to be able to play equally if they want to. If you're a curmudgeon, stay home. You don't have to play. But if you do want to and you want to create things and you want to develop the new future, I want everybody to have the same access to be able to do it. Right now, if you have a computer and a couple of like a phone and things like that, AR is actually pretty easy to get into. VR is harder. The headsets do cost more. And so it takes a longer time to even learn how to develop. But AR, once you start, you don't even have to know how to 3D model. You can literally just get JPEGs and stick them into AR. And Meta, and I think also even Google or Microsoft have actual AR learning courses for free. These companies are trying to make AR accessible for people. And once you get into AR, you catch the bug like I did, and you get into MR, XR, VR, and what other Rs will there be in the future? It all comes from here. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And again, listeners, you'll be able to learn more about Jeannine. I feel like, I don't know how often you maybe speak to high school, middle school age students, but I think there's so many different talks that you can be giving, this intersection of what the entrepreneurial spirit can mean from the standpoint of building access and inclusion to, I think, the reality that lots of research has shown people are going to be changing careers at a much quicker rate than maybe my generation and older are used to. What does that mean? And I love that actually you have framed it as such a positive experience, as a playful one. Thank you so much for sharing so much with us on the show today. A real pleasure to speak with you.
No problem. I love being here. Thank you for having me.